What's up, everybody? This is Bebon, and I am back bringing you another game from the Roccat Gosucup. This is from the round of 8. We are reaching the semifinals, and this is a game between eZstyle on the Sentinel and UE on the Scourge. And eZstyle is probably the most well-known American team at the moment. I mean, EG can be considered semi-American, but does have 3 European players. But eZstyle, to my knowledge, is all American. It's captained by 1437, Powernet, Universe. People from OK Nirvana who have, I think, been disbanded, but they might be back in the picture. And UE, you probably never heard of them, but they are a Brazilian team, and they are pretty good to make it this far into the round of 8, so let's get right into it. So, interesting past couple of days just in the life of b-ball, and been doing papers, doing work, but it actually freaking snowed in Boston. I mean, it's end of October, and already it snowed. And it wasn't even the good kind of snow. It was the wet, miserable kind of snow that just sort of sticks to you. And, if you go outside to go to the dining hall, it just soaks you to the skin, leaves you shivering and cold. But, you know, dealing with it, I like the cold, but that kind of snow is not my favorite. So enough about me, let's get into the game. So 1437 had the first ban, which was Lich. Nothing too uncommon about that ban. I mean, Lich, Shadow Demon, Invoker, and to a lesser extent AA are probably the top 4 bans at this point in the metagame, along with some other lesser known, such as Brood or Anti-Mage. And looks like UE, captained by Domi, decided to ban Invoker and Ancient Apparition. So, I mean, with the second ban, you really just want to eliminate potential first pick heroes that the other team could pick up, and I'm surprised they didn't ban Shadow Demon as the 1437 immediately picking him up in return after he banned the Broodmother and the Lycan. So, Broodmother and Lycan, they don't like playing against those heroes, or maybe they don't want to get pushed very aggressively because those 2 heroes are menaces in the mid games. And considering that UE, did not ban any BKB counters like Beastmaster or Enigma, they didn't want to have a potential Brood or Lycan pick be countered by one of those. So I guess an overall good ban. Maybe they just don't like dealing with those tier heroes, but they are extremely powerful in mid-game. So Shadow Demon, not really much to talk about. Of course, he's so common these days, and these bans and picks are flying by really fast. So Shadow Demon, of course, probably a strong solo mid in the European scene, but in the Asian scene, he's been seeing a lot of play as a support, as a dual laner, and I think he functions pretty well in that role. Of course, he needs a lot of experience, he needs a lot of mana, he needs good mana regen, but he can function pretty well in dual lane. Of course, I don't think he works quite as well as in a tri-lane, so Shadow Demon is not too uncommon. Meanwhile, Scourge fell up with Weaver and Vengeful Spirit. Now, Weaver's sort of been a little bit fading out, and by saying a little bit, I mean the slightest margins fading out from the scene, just because he needs so many items, he needs a lot of HP, and he needs good damage in order to carry the victory for his team. But just keeping in mind these first 3 picks on the Scourge, look at them. Weaver has a Swarm, 3000 cast range, gives you a massive AoE, and the bugs just rip through your armor. Sorry, that almost sounded like something very offensive. But anyway, rip through the armor, and Vengeful Spirit's Howl of Terror, of course, very long casting range. A lot of vision given to it when it's casted. I think it's something like 1200 range. You can correct me if I'm wrong. And of course, that also rips through armor. And following up the clock, now clock, of course, even more vision. So look to see Scourge. Look for probably a map dominant hero, maybe a Night Stalker who can gank, maybe transition into some other mid-game push strat or something like that, just so that they can fully utilize the map control they get with all these spells in the mid-game. And meanwhile, 1437 decided to pick up Windrunner and Earthshaker. Earthshaker, very powerful defensive hero. Of course, can dual lane quite effectively and can roam very effectively. Of course, he does have trouble getting farm, and he needs a Blink Dagger. I mean, he doesn't really need one, but for a hardcore support, finding that 2100 gold can be quite difficult sometimes. But Earthshaker, of course, still a strong hero nonetheless. And they also picked up the Windrunner. Now, just look at the Scourge ban. They banned Batrider and Crystal Maiden. Now, Batrider can just... He's one of the few heroes that can counter Weaver relatively well. He blinks in with the Flaming Lasso, and you have 4 seconds to wail on the Weaver. But I'm surprised no Night Stalker pick so far from the Sentinel. Maybe a Night Stalker pick, because Night Stalker also functions very well against Weaver with his long duration silence at nighttime. And Scourge also banned the Crystal Maiden, noticing that aside from the Earthshaker, there aren't really too many hardcore supports, so it looks like Venomancer might function in that role. So these lanes are pretty ambiguous at the moment. I mean, Venomancer, Shadow Demon, Winter can all potentially solo lane, so I'm going to be interested to see what the last pick is on the Sentinel. But it looks like Beastmaster and Syllabar were banned, so maybe they're going to pick up a BKB carry for their last pick for Sentinel, seeing the Beastmaster ban. But Scourge have showed their hand. They're picking into a Chen. Now, Chen, of course, was really popular about 2 months ago, but he's sort of faded out a little bit. Not really too much, but seeing less play, metagame's sort of shifting hardcore towards ganking and getting a lot of hero kills and stuff like that more than pushing. So Chen doesn't fit as well into that role, but of course he's still a ridiculously strong hero. And like I always say, Holy Persuasion is the ultimate buzzkill. You're gonna own an enemy, just throw down all your spells on him, and then zap. He's teleported home, and then you are left to pick up the pieces of your battle, having lost your ultimates and all your skills, and that just leaves you with a feeling of despair. You really want to get that kill. Yes, that might sound like a serial killer, but in Dota, it's completely justifiable. So you really need to get that kill. And Chen he's too holy. He just heals you, keeps allies alive, and he has an army of minions following him. He's basically like Jesus. So, yeah, I went there. Anyway, it looks like Night Stalker is the final pick on the Sentinel. Night Stalker, they're going for semi-carry. Night Stalker, of course, can tank and run in behind the tower, and like I said earlier, has that long-duration silence, really adept in shutting down the Weaver. But the thing about Night Stalker is that he sort of works best when the people don't know when he's coming, and with these strong map position picks, and with the Chen, Hand of God, being able to back up the Weaver, Weaver can probably survive if the rockets and the terrors and the swarms are placed properly to anticipate the Night Stalker ganks. So, just judging from the laning, I mean, I need to see what this last pick. If the Scourge decide to pick a melee hero, I'll expect to see a Night Stalker mid lane. But if Scourge pick a range hero, Night Stalker won't have as good a time in the mid lane. Then maybe they'll switch to Shadow Demon. So it all really depends on the Scourge's last pick for the laning phase. So, of course, we're going to see Chen in the jungle, Weaver probably soloing the lane. It depends again on this last pick to see if Vengeful Spirit jungles with the Chen or if she decides to help support the Weaver. But Clockwork, I expect to see solo bottom. Let's see what the mid solo is. That's all I can say. And, of course, Earthshaker roaming, probably supporting Venomancer maybe at the bottom lane. Of course, it all depends on this last pick. So, potential last picks. Maybe they have pretty good initiation. I think they're lacking in early game damage for the most part because Clock, Weaver, they don't really thrive on burst damage. They sort of rely on long drawn out team fights, fighting within the cog, just doing a lot of damage that way. So maybe somebody who can cause a lot of havoc in team fight and do a lot of damage, because right now the Sentinel severely outdamaged them with Shadow Demon, with Venomancer, with Night Stalker. So maybe a Lion. That would be a strong solo mid, maybe a Storm Spirit, somebody really bursty. So, yeah, let's see how it goes. And again, this is from the Roccat Gosucup, and this is the round of 8. So, this is game 2. I'm not going to tell you who won game 1 till the end, but I'll let you know who is making on to series, because all of the games have been played, and I just chose this game. And it looks like a Panda is being picked up by the Sentinel, or sorry, by the Scourge. And that's really interesting because Panda, of course, can provide a lot of damage and is a ridiculously strong teamfight hero. Can isolate a hero with this Storm Panda for a good 5 seconds. And isolating a hero like Night Stalker or Shadow Demon or Venomancer or Earthshaker cannot be underestimated for a full 5 seconds. That basically means you have to run. The other team has to run away. Of course, the downside with Panda is that he has not that much mana. He really needs good positioning to get his spells off. And his ultimate has a really long cooldown. But just judging from these lanes, really with the Panda pick, I'm going to expect to see Panda solo mid, Clockwork solo bottom, Chen in the jungle with Vengeful Spirit, and Weaver solo top. Meanwhile, against this Panda, I'm going to expect to see Night Stalker and maybe a Windrunner solo top against Weaver and probably a Shadow Demon solo bottom. Yeah, Shadow Demon solo bottom with Earthshaker. And maybe do a dual lane top with Night Stalker mid, or maybe do a dual lane mid with Venomancer. I don't know. Venomancer is a little bit of the oddball hero here because he's not really the best in functioning against Weaver, because Weaver can just Shikuchi away from his slow, preventing a lot of Venomancer's passive rest. So let's get into this game. So the Brazilian team, UE, all Brazilians are led by DC-Com, don't let Luminous fool you. As we see, Fire G 4DR on the clock, Essa on the Panda, DS on the Vengeful Spirit, on Fire G, or BTTIS on Fire on the Weaver. And who's going to be playing that Chen? Domi is playing that Chen. Usually when you're captaining, you're going to play the Chen. That's just how I find it. Because, I don't know, it's just really odd because Milk plays a Chen, and back before when Puppy wasn't on Navi, Artstyle would play the Chen or the Enchantress, so, just a small little occurrence that I find quite odd. So the Brazilians will be facing against the American powerhouses of Powernet on the Windrunner, 1437 on the Earthshaker, Infinity on the Night Stalker, Colt M on the Shadow Demon, and who is that last pick? Venomancer is being played by Universe. So I haven't honestly heard of UE before, but they have pretty strong players. I'm not too familiar with Colt M or Infinity. I know Infinity sort of vaguely, but I'm not really too familiar with Colt M. I wonder what happened to sort of Dark Sheep or something like that. Maybe he just hasn't had enough time. But let's see how the Americans fare against the Brazilians. America. If you don't like America, you can just get out. So, yeah. As we see, Night Stalker in the mid lane. So, just judging from the early items, when we're picking up an early Ring of Basilisk, indicating that he's going to dual lane with the Shaker, so it looks like Shadow Demon will not be laning with the Shaker. He's going to be slowing the bot lane, and Shaker picking up early wards and early smoke. So that's really just going to mean he's going to gank quite heavily, or go for one strong gank. Meanwhile, Venomancer looks like he's going to go to mid lane to help harass the Panda. And now, Panda is an interesting hero because he has so much HP, but he doesn't really have too much mana to spam and get last hits with. So Night Stalker should have a decent time against Panda. Of course, they won't really... If Panda plays well, I mean, you shouldn't be able to kill him at all. And looks like Vengeful Spirit and Chen are in fact offensive gelling, so that's really interesting. Looks like they want to shut down the Shadow Demon completely. So, overall, the Scourge lanes, like I predicted, except top and bot were switched. But I like this change because you want to give Clock a little bit more support. Maybe they're expecting a dual lane of the Shaker and Shadow Demon or something like that. But I really like early levels on Clock, being a Clock player myself. I mean, if he doesn't get early levels, he doesn't get a Vanguard. He can't really do too much. All he can function with is his Rocket to get last hits and to provide sight. But when you last hit with Rockets, you of course push the lane, allowing you in the long run not to get as much farm. And Clock versus Windrunner, a pretty standard lane. Looks like Earthshaker in fact leaves the Windrunner because he knows Windrunner should be just fine. Of course, Clock can harass a little bit, but this is a pretty common lane, even in the tri-lane era. So Night Stalker just getting complete free farm. I mean, Panda is still 0-0. So really nice play by Venomancer and Night Stalker identifying it, but it looks like Panda will get some experience just because he's in mid lane and they can't deny everything, no matter how hard they try. And because Panda is really hard to kill, along with his huge AoE on the clap being a massive slow, he can run up from time to time, look for some experience. But it looks like already some action on the bot lane. Vengeful Spirit's already being sent home, so that's actually pretty significant, because Night Stalker and Venom both left the lane, allowing Panda to get some much needed free farm, and Panda was at level 1, and now he's at level 3, and meanwhile the dual lane mid is still at level 2, so a little bit of a fail gank right there by the Sentinel heroes, Chen being super buzzkill as usual, just sending his ally back home, and looks like his creep died. It was a Centaur. So meanwhile, just checking out the lane, Powernet should have a relatively easy time against the Clock, but Clock keeping up decently, and he has 2 salves, so he can be a little bit more aggressive knowing that he has that extra regen. Sorry for the mouse movement. I know that's one thing I have to work on quite a bit. But yeah, hopefully the resolution's a lot better, because I've actually upped my resolution. Shout out to that guy who said, turn up your Warcraft 3 resolution. I was like, oh, such a simple thing. Why didn't I think of that? And then I realized, oh, not very good at this. But I'm trying to get better. So, really not expecting too much action in the early game. Of course, having a Chen on the other team always means for some hardcore action off the bat, along with the Rolling Venge, but it looks like they're just going to try to get some fast level 6, and Chen he really needs to get fast level 5 in order to get those true creeps and start going with his massive push. But looks like he's actually leaving the lane. Looks like they want to try to get something done on the Shadow Demon. no, Shadow Demon identifies it due to some wards. One ward here by the Earthshaker, and one ward here protecting the Windrunner and protecting the mid lane from potential ganks from that top side. But of course, the Scourge are jungling offensively. So it looks like Earthshaker just not getting experience. I think he should actually venture a little bit closer, but it looks like they're going to be a little bit of action. Weaver already drops the Swarm, and looks like a Magic Missile is going to follow up right there, but the Chen is not in position whatsoever. And this Shadow Demon might be able to get away with just a little bit of HP at the Chen last hit. Oh my god. That Shadow Demon literally had 5 HP. Did you see that? Holy crap. And that Chen, he was a little bit out of position when that Weaver initiated, so a little bit of a bad move by UE or Domi on the Chen, but that just serves to scare away the Shadow Demon. Of course, he'll just sell up, be fine, but that just gives Weaver a little bit more of an advantage in the mid lane. And looks like Venomancer realizes, okay, Night Stalker should... No, he's going to stay in the mid lane. I'm going to expect a little bit more roaming from this Venomancer because they really want to shut down the Weaver, because Weaver is probably the hardest carry in this game at the moment. Of course, Night Stalker does reasonably well, but I'm not really liking what eZstyle is doing, as I miss a First Blood on the bot lane. Looks like they killed the Vengeful Spirit DS. My bad, guys. But Shadow Demon, I expected Disruption with a couple of poisons, a Soul Catcher, and along with an Earthshaker Fissure. It's not really too difficult to hypothesize what happened, but my bad. I'll try to catch more action as we get into it. But I'm not really liking how they are approaching this mid lane situation, because they're often roaming to gank the jungle, but Chen and Venge are just being too careful, and looks like Chen has just migrated completely back to the defensive jungle and just get some early levels and maybe get a potential tower push. But Panda's being harassed quite a bit. But almost level 6 Panda versus level 4 Night Stalker and Venomancer, and that's a real indication of this dual lane is not doing its job well at all. Already has that primal split. He has enough mana for it, and he won't have enough mana for both of his skills because Panda has shit for intelligence. But he does pick up a bottle, and now he can spam a little bit more, and he can push the lane pretty effectively. It looks like a gank is coming in from the mid lane, but Panda is not really in position to get off a good clap, so that gank will just all go for naught. And that Venomancer Plague Work nicely placed, identifying the pushing party, or the ganking party, but looks like they might just want to transition into a push now that Panda is level 6, and Panda functions similar to a Night Stalker in teamfights. You just run at the opponent. And what are you supposed to do when 3 giant cuddly pandas, I suppose, are coming at you, trying to give you handshakes and high fives and hugs? You run away. But looks like Weaver just gets disrupted a little bit of harass. I don't expect anything to happen from this. And Clockwork actually venturing quite to the bottom lane, really unexpected. And looks like he's trying to get a nice hook on the Shadow Demon. No cog, but he shouldn't need it. Oh, he might need it. Wow. This Shadow Demon is living on the edge, but he's going to die to the Swarm. Or, sorry, from the Swarm. And Panda came in for the stomp, and looks like a giant team fight happening. Fissure traps in a couple people. Powernet gets a double kill as a giant team fight happens, and Panda, he drops his ultimate. Of course, Chen buzzkill didn't happen, but it is nighttime. But Night Stalker is only level 4. That's very huge, as he does get Cyclone. I expect him to die, and a nice Warcraft 3 surround by the Pandas. Nicely microed by Essa. Wow. Just some really smart plays overall by the Scourge team. And America not being a world power in this match at the moment. And it's first night. Again, this is really... I'm not really liking how this Night Stalker Venomancer handled their lane. They went to the jungle too many times. And it's first night. It's pretty much a fourth of the way through the first night. And Night Stalker's level 4. And that means he can't Dower Dive as aggressively. He doesn't have a level of Silence. Not a very high level of Void, so he's going to need to find him experience and find it fast. It looks like he might try to do that with the team fights of Panda, just trying to run away, and that Panda will go down as a Fissure blocks him, but he does manage to get a clap off and try to save the Weaver. But meanwhile, Shadow Demon's to catch up to the Chen, and Shadow Demon's quite level 5, but can't do much after that. And all the while, Vengeful Spirit getting some much needed experience. Level 3, but is already going to pick up the pace and be on an equal footing with that Night Stalker relatively soon, which is a weird thing to say. Normally by the first night, you don't expect the Vengeful Spirit to be the same level as a Night Stalker in any game. But Powernet is being the sole surviving grace of the Sentinel team. He is farming really well. He is level 8, 37-14. We got a double kill in that last fight. I don't think he's died at all. No, he's 3-0, and he has a decent number of creep kills. Already picking up that headdress, going for that mechanism. And no ace means that mechanism will be really useful. Meanwhile, this Panda just comes back to the lane. Looks. I mean, when do you see Night Stalker being scared off a lane? By a Panda, nonetheless. Only when he's level 5 and the Panda's level 7. Meanwhile, Powernet just farming. Magic Spirit managed to pick up a level and a half, so good job by him. Earthshaker trying to desperately pick up some levels. Level 4, so actually the support's getting decent experience. Looks like both teams recognized their supports were a bit underleveled. And this Weaver actually firing not so well, which is surprising considering he had the offensive jungle for quite a bit. But Shadow Demon just being an annoying hero to lane against at any phase of the game. So nice job by Colt to M suppressing this Weaver's farm. But the equivalent hero on the Sentinel, the Night Stalker, not getting farm either. And Weaver does have the time lapse, so you can do something. And I'm really disappointed by Infinity's play. Not really Infinity's play, but more of the choices by the Sentinel team. He has to spend a lot of the first night trying to make up for lost farm and lost experience. And he's not even level 6, and night is already halfway over. So, I mean, the second night is probably the most important night, I think, in terms of getting kills, in terms of cementing a lead, because he can come back if the Night Stalker has a ridiculously strong first night, but if he has a strong second night, it's going to be much harder. As Clock trying to get a hook in, and Clock 26-2, pick up that arcane boots, and a Fissure manages to trap nobody, but Vengeful Spirit just got completely path blocked, and meanwhile Panda sorry I missed that, but Panda comes in, gets the ult off right in time. Night Stalker does manage to pick up a kill. Let's see if they can be another Warcraft lead round. No, just nice micro by the Chen player, but he is in danger. He dies as well. Earthshaker is quite low as well, but Night Stalker just being thrown in by all angles. And a brilliant Fissure. Oh, Night Stalker just barely dies. And Powernet should be fine. He is still highest leveled. And a nice team fight by the Sentinel, claiming 3 for 1. But 1 is the Night Stalker. Meanwhile, Panda is so low, so low. Bottles up, and a Fissure. Mana for Fissure? No mana for Fissure. How unfortunate. Meanwhile, Weaver doing what Weaver does, taking that moment to farm up that creep blaze, but overall, a really strong team fight by the Sentinel. A little bit out of position by the Scourge, I'd have to say. I mean, the Panda was being initiated on. It was just really chasing, really hectic team fight, and Powernet just delivered a couple of nice shadow shots, got a power shot, got a kill here and there. Meanwhile, Panda just going back to jungling, trying to get that farm. Really, in the past 3 minutes, he hasn't leveled up at all, which is a little bit concerning because you want that level 11 on Panda just to get that longer ultimate duration, get those stronger Pandas, because level 1 Pandas aren't the greatest. But looks like Scourge are going to pick up a tower for their troubles. Weaver picking up that Vanguard, and he is going to be so hard to kill, especially low-level Night Stalker against this Weaver. Of course, Weaver easy to kill, but not with the Vanguard, not when Night Stalker isn't even level 7, has that decent level of Void and a decent level of Silence. So, not an overall effective first night for this Night Stalker. Looks like he's just going to go for probably an Urn into a Vanguard, but not even the Urn finished at 11 minutes in. That's really surprising. Meanwhile, Venomancer, nothing. Boots. Shadow Demon actually is pretty farmed as a result of controlling the bottom lane fairly well, getting quite a few assists, I have to say. And despite all my talking, and I talk a lot, the Sentinel is still up 7-3 and a nice Fissure. I don't think Panda's ultimate is online, so this should be an easy kill for the Panda. Rocket's nothing doing. Vengeful Spirit might have been able to swap, but she is only level 5. So despite all of my talking about mouthing my people, my American people, they're still up 8-3, and they are handling this game quite well, but they have to be careful with this Weaver. He hasn't been ganked at all. No towers have been pushed. Chen hasn't hit that level 6, so the global kill hasn't been online for all these fights. And without that level 6 on the Chen, the Scourge can't be really too aggressive in team fights because they'll just die. Because Shadow Demon just dishes out so much damage in the early game. And yeah, that's really all I can say. As Panda TP's bot gets more farm. And interesting choice picking up the treads. I usually like picking up phase boots for better chasing with Panda, along with giving you some good damage. And it gives you a lot of mobility. Or also, I like picking up arcade boots as well on the Panda, but it looks like they want to give him a little bit more attack speed when his ultimate is off cooldown rather than chasing. But along with Weaver, Panda with phase boots is a pretty strong chaser, so Panda has really high innate strength growth, so I would have liked to see Arcane Boots or Phase Boots on that Panda, because Panda has really low move speed, and not really low move speed, really low mana pool, and he has trouble chasing people effectively, getting in good position with his clap before he gets his Blink Dagger, and Phase Boots can do that. So just overall, a lot of jockeying for positioning, and Nightstalker again being scared off the lane, but Powernet just doing a magnificent job, already level 10. Still has the same items as usual. Let's just check out his farm really quick. He has 1200, so he's going to pick up that buckler pretty soon, and then about 400 gold to have that mechanism. So good job by Powernet. And meanwhile, Chen just making up for lost time, getting that level 6, which will be hugely important in the upcoming team fights. Nothing much happening at the moment, just sort of semi-pushing. I'd like to get this Earthshaker a little bit more farmed. Venomancer decently farmed. Looks like Sentinel decided to pop smoke. They want to go on this bot lane, but Panda should have his ultimate this time. And looks like he senses something. Probably the creep saw him. Was there a ward here? No wards there, but I guess Panda just knows. He knows, man. And he's just going to back off. But that will allow Nightstalker to get some much-needed experience. Try to get maybe a Vanguard completed by the second night. And with the Vanguard by the second night, he should be okay as far as dying. But by that time, the Scourge supports might be a little bit too tank. Meanwhile, Weaver, just being Weaver, farming it up. 52 creep kills in 14 minutes, not the strongest, but it is a tough lane. But it looks like Panda with that haste rune, just gonna be annoying. Trying to go in after that fissure, but it looks like Shadow Demon trying to get some harass on the Clockwork. I don't expect anything to come of this because the other Sentinel supports are quite low HP and Nightstalker popped the nighttime, so that's Q. When a level 1 Knight is popped, that's your Q to run back, because if he isn't already chasing you, then Nightstalker can't do too much when you just run away from him and you're near the tower, especially when he's not as farmed. So, meanwhile, Powernet decides to skip the mechanism, already picking him that Staff of Wizardry. I would have liked to see a mechanism just to give them more armor because, like I said, Howl of Terror Swarm just cuts down the armor so much, and mechanism gives you not only that huge burst of healing, but does give you amazing plus armor aura, and a nice shackle shot on the win, but no deny. And looks like this Chen getting some nice micro stomping the creeps, stomping the Nightstalker, sorry. And Windrunner on hot pursuit, but again, nothing will happen from this. So again, I would have liked to see Windrunner probably pick up the early mechanism just to counteract some of the minus armor. And I mean, Weaver and Panda, when they right click, it hurts. Don't get me wrong. So I mean, Force Staff is always a strong choice against Clock. Always a strong choice, you know, if somebody's being Cyclone and they're just coming down and they're in position to be strong, you can force them away and just go, ha ha. So, yeah. Force Staff is by no means a bad item. Again, I just would have liked to see Mecha. So, not just more jockeying for positioning. The score is 8-3, but Scourge have 2 towers up, so the gold differential isn't as huge. It looks like Venomancer is being initiated upon, but the purges off the haste, so Panda is stuck in no man's land. Getting harassed quite a bit, but meanwhile Clockwork is chasing down Powernet. Looks like Panda not splitting, he just gets healed up by that God's Strength, or by Hand of God, sorry, and all that action, nothing happening. How anticlimactic. That's giving me some blue balls right there, anyway. So, Weaver just being annoying as hell, just farming. God, my hero can be really boring sometimes, but keep in mind, 1.1k away from that relic. And when he gets that relic, considering, I mean, this Nightstalker is level 8, and it's almost second night, that Weaver will be pretty much unstoppable to kill. And looks like a smoke gank coming in, Force Staff in the Earthshaker, but Panda manages to get his ultimate. Nonetheless, it looks like Shadow Demon gets a nice chain stun. Brilliant shackle shot, and let's see, Chen will die. And it is not nighttime yet, and Nightstalker's darkness is on cooldown, and Earthshaker did fall as well. It looks like Shadow Demon is allowed troll, but Vengeful Spirit manages to go away. Roccat manages to miss that Shadow Demon. That Shadow Demon is one of the luckiest heroes I've seen all games, escaping the brink of death several times, and a nice shackle shot managed to claim a couple kills. Nightstalker dives in, got the Vengeful Spirit, but Panda managed to pick off the Nightstalker, and all the while. So, wow, really hectic again, but Sentinel again coming out on top, 8-3 to 11-5, so a 3-2 exchange. But keep in mind, Weaver didn't die, and Nightstalker did. And unless they plan to have a winner carry, Sentinel will need to do something with all of this gold advantage, or with all of their hero kills, in terms of getting that winner some DPS, because Weaver is going to be a pain in the ass later on. Nanomancer doesn't really have anything. A really nice play by Powernet, force-staffing in the Earthshaker to get a brilliant ultimate, and of course Panda ultimate was popped just after, but it provided a lot of initial positioning advantage for the Sentinel. One of the big things about Earthshaker in the early game, if you're not fighting next to a tower where you can just TP in and ultimate a bunch of creeps, is finding a good place to drop an ultimate where it doesn't do basically 200 damage and that's it. But 1437 managed to drop a pretty good ultimate, and he's only level 6, 19 minutes in. Looks like they want to get the Earthshaker farmed up relatively well. It'll also just be food later on, just complete and utter food. And Night Stalker, second night, only picked up those treads. Meanwhile, some engagement going on. Mid lane, Shadow Demon base is stunned, but that Force Staff are already paying dividends, making me eat my words. He's like, B-Ball, don't need Mecha, just need Force Staff, best item in the game. Now, if you want the real best item in the game, it's E-Blade. Where are E-Blades at, guys? So, Force Staff saving a couple of heroes and providing really good positioning. And again, this Shadow Demon escaping from the brink of death so many times. Looks like he might go for the standard one of every tier 1 item. Nah, just kidding. Probably gonna go for a Jangle without Bracer. I think Sentinel really want to get a push going with their kill lead and their really farmed Windrunner. But it's gonna be hard pushing against the Scourge because Weaver, Swarm, Rocket, just not really strong pusher, and the standard tactic of Night Stalker running through the tower, bypassing all the tower defense. It's not gonna happen. Level 10. I feel like I'm harping on this point, but I mean, this is one of the few cases where Night Stalker is not really being too effective, and Night Stalker is just a really strong hero. So I can't really fault Infinity. Maybe it's just the decisions of the team in order to try to gank the jungle a bit, but a little bit disappointing overall. Meanwhile, Scourge just camping it up, getting that Weaver complete free farm, and if I were the Night Stalker, I'd try to get something done on the Weaver, but Weaver is so hard to kill already. Should have that relic up. Just spot it by the looks of it. No boots. Don't need boots, because you have 522 MS every 5 seconds, which is extremely fair in my view. And looks like Panda managed to get a point booster and nice Force Staff in, and they drop an ultimate for him. And looks like Clock jumps in, manages to cog 3 heroes, or is that 4? And wow, what a cog by the Clock, but he still manages to die. Not enough damage in because Weaver is still farming his ass off. I think it would have been smart for this Weaver to TP in, but just still farming, and Night Stalker just gonna go unleash all hell on the Scourge team, just chasing it up. And I thought for sure that once Clock got that sensational cog, catching 4 people, or was it 3? I couldn't really tell. That Scourge would have been like, alright, just drop everything on them. But really, without the Panda, with Weaver farming up top lane, what damage do they have? Nice job by Powernet, again, force staffing in the Panda. I'm pretty sure Panda's ultimate was online, sorry. And they did a really magnificent job of chain styling. Even dropped an Earthshaker Echo Slam, so another 3 kills being picked up to the Sentinel. And this is the momentum they need. They got the tower, they got 3 more kills, a 9-kill advantage. And they're going to need all the gold they can get when dealing with this Sacred Relic Weaver, who is 500 gold away from the Radiance. It looks like they're going to smoke up, I don't know. No, it looks like Shadow Demon just picked up Invis Rune. And Nanomancer deciding to take up, which is a smart choice. And no, they're not really going to be able to do too much against this Weaver. He's just going to Invis out. And even a Dust being casted, but he's too far away. Meanwhile, Chen picked up the Mechanism. Let's check out how Powernet's running, because he's really been the key factor in Sentinel winning these team fights, really. And he's picked up the Mechanism as well, so he's actually farming quite well. And they're going to really rely on Powernet's utility to get him out of sticky situations. And you saw what happens when that Force Staff is on cooldown. If you bunch up too hard, you're just going to get 3-man cogged. And eventually they're going to get a 3-man cog. Well, I mean, you're not going to get a 3-man cog all the time. But when they get a 2-man cog, there's going to be a Weaver and a Panda there. And it looks like Chen is actually being chased, but a nice job by Panda recognizing that Chen just is being auto-attacked, so he drops the haze, and Panda ultimate is dropped a little bit unnecessary because the Night Stalker is just going to die, and that's probably going to be the end of it, but it looks like Shadow Demon found himself somewhere, so out of positioning all day on the Sentinel team, and Night Stalker actually bought back, which is completely unnecessary. Venomancer falls as well, so wow! Sloppy play. That's all I have to say by the Sentinel team, and Powernet taking this time to farm up top, but I don't really think that buyback was too necessary. I mean, if he bought back, what can he do? He can't really do too much. Earthshaker not even getting too much experience from this, so I really feel like they can't take team fights against this team without Powernet being there when he's pushing top. I mean, I guess they sort of committed to chasing Chen down with the Night Stalker, but that buyback was just sort of emotionally based. I have to criticize my American friends on that. Not really friends, we don't know each other. Although sometimes in my dreams, I can dream, can I? So, Weaver picked up that Radiance, has the Aegis. How are they going to kill him? Especially with Night Stalker using that buyback. No gold. Oh, he has Elite Gold, but it's not even... He's sort of close to the Vanguard. Maybe I'll just pick up an Ogre Axe, try to transition to a BKB, or go for Ags. But Ags will be a long time in coming along with BKB. So... But the good thing for the Sentinel is that they still have a kill advantage. They've tied up the tower count. And Powernet's pretty farmed. The bad thing is, Weaver won't die. Ever. And that might be a little bit too difficult to overcome. Because Panda's 5-3, but I don't think his ultimate's really been utilized to its best effect in these team fights. Actually, it has, but it has been a long cooldown. Looks like Shadow Demon just trying to cast some sentry wards, try to give them a little bit more map presence. And that's the thing about the Scourge, they lock you down in terms of map presence, just with... They know when you're coming. That's why Night Stalker is actually countered pretty well by the Scourge team, because they have so much vision. But... Let's see, Shadow Demon did pick up that Jangle. Earthshaker is still away. I think Earthshaker tried to farm Blink Dagger. He has 1,000 gold, but he's still only level 8. He should pick up level 11, try to farm maybe the top lane, because I think they really need Earthshaker to fight. But even if they fight with the Earthshaker and Echo Slam Blink, not too much they can do. But Sentinel did pick up a free tower, so I don't really recommend they stay around, but it looks like they want to stay around. They silence the Panda. Venomancer drops the ultimate. Swap saving the Panda. Panda silence just about to run out, and he does drop his ultimate, and that will turn the tides of the battle hugely in favor of the Scourge. Windrunner is finally going to die. Powernet, your immortality finally comes to an end, along with the Shadow Demon. Meanwhile, the Scourge are still on the chase. Really surprising. Wasn't expecting that, but Clock managed to get a nice hook in. And Venture Spear followed up with the stun, so... I really don't think the Sentinel should have taken that fight. I really don't, because they got the tower, they got what they needed, and... Yeah, I mean, you want to focus, they want to bring that in Panda, but Venture Spear right there with the clutch swap, allowing him for that silence to run out just in time, and it's just turning daytime right now. So that silence won't be too effective for much longer. Meanwhile, Weaver is going to pick up the treads. Clock has that Hood of Defiance. And, yep, treads finished on the Weaver. Overall, the items on the Scourge are just better. I mean, Earthshaker can't really do too much in this case. Vengeful Spirit, Cloak, just tanking up overall by the Scourge team because they don't really have too much to fear in terms of late game DPS. They don't have too much to fear in terms of right click DPS. No need for or staffs necessarily or ghost scepters. They just need to outlast a team, and when you have the Panda and the other team just is forced to run away, you can outlast them, as Chen is building a veritable army of creeps by his side. Jackie Chen freeing all the Centaurs from Chinatown. Like that alliteration. Of course, that alliteration didn't really make too much sense, but whatever. As anyway, just some farm. Weaver getting force staffed, and he's actually getting chain stun, and he does lose his Aegis. Pretty significant, but the Scourge are here. They're going to back up their friend and expect Holy Persuasion. Actually, Clock gets a nice hook in. Shadow Demon's being immediately focused, and Clap manages to seal the fate of the Shadow Demon. Meanwhile, Night Stalker is in a lot of trouble. Gets swapped in. No stuns to follow up. Meanwhile, the chase is going on. Weaver manages to get a kill, and Night Stalker follows soon after by the chain stuns of the Centaurs. and Jackie Chen, or sorry, just Chen in this case, just doing a magnificent job in these team fights, and Sentinel just realizing we can't, even if we kill this Weaver once, he has Aegis, he has a time lapse, and he has a whole team to back him up. What else are we supposed to do? I mean, it's not looking good. As anyway, the Hand of God is gonna come down to heal them, and Powernet's farming like a beast, but you can't do it all at this point. I mean, they're just sort of turtling it up, just dropping gales and power shots, but this tower will go down, and this Rex soon to fall. I mean, I think, actually without the Panda, they can't take this fight, as Earthshaker actually TP'd in, got a Blink Dagger, or maybe it was 4-staffed in, sorry, I couldn't tell the difference, but Panda saved his ultimate, and he is just going to go on a rampage as Venture Spirit does die. Clock just a beautiful hook in on the Earthshaker, and Earthshaker is going to be the next one to fall. Weaver is just chasing all these people like a boss, just scaring them away. Says, fear me, and Clock is going to be saved by Buzz Killington, the Chen. Just complete havoc in all these team fights, which is usually the case when you're facing a Radiant 522 MS hero and fucking 10 Pandas owning your face. But it looks like Sentinel managed to hold on, surprisingly, and without that ultimate, Panda is in quite a bit of trouble, but no, Panda is just going to be sent home by Buzz Killington, but Weaver actually got chain stunned up. Fissure, Enchant Totem, Shackle Shot, Silence by the Night Stalker. Silence is really only casted in the last couple of seconds because it is daytime, and I saw that Weaver was silenced at the end. But yeah, good, really unexpected defense by the Sentinel team. I have to confess, I wasn't really expecting them to defend so well. They only really lost the tower, they got the Weaver. They fought against the Panda ultimate, they fought against a lot of things. Just good job persevering by Americans. Never give up, never lose hope, as Clock being jumped upon, but with that pipe. Actually, Windrunner doing significant DPS, really surprising, as that Shackle Shot along with Focus Fire tore through Clock within that 3.5 second duration. So Powernet just doing a lot of damage, but they need more. And Panda Blink Ags, that might seal the deal. Once he hits level 16, there's not really much you can stop the 3 freaking huge Pandas given to him by the Aghanim Scepters, holding the Play Dota page all the way. So I expect the next push maybe to come when Panda hits level 16, but yeah. I mean, Chen pick up Vlad's strong pushing item gives a lot of damage to the melee creeps. What does Sentinel need to do? Sentinel needs to get their Earthshaker farmed, get a Blink Dagger to try to counteract this initiation, but it looks like he's just not getting farm at all. And the Scourge are initiating on them, so maybe Blink Dagger is not really the best choice. Maybe the... Yeah, actually, I'm going to take that back. Just forget everything I said in the past 3 seconds. He needs to tank up so that when the Scourge initiated him with the Clock, with the Panda, he can tank up the initial barrage of nukes and be able to drop his ultimate drop stuns, because there's no BKBs on the Scourge team, so his stuns can really be used for the maximum effect. Meanwhile, Night Stalker, what does he need to do? He needs to get maybe a cloak, or I don't know. He needs to finish an item. I don't think BKB would really be the best choice because a lot of the damage is coming from the Weaver at this point. And Weaver actually chasing down the Illusion, owning it up. And it looks like Weaver's going to go for a BKB. And that's actually pretty huge if Weaver managed to finish the BKB, because Weaver has been dying even with the Aegis. I mean, despite the fact that he only has 1 death. You've seen him focus down several times. Looks like Scourge actually smoking up. They want to get something to happen. Get that level 16 on the Panda without using the ultimate perhaps. But Sentinel grouping up, staying effective. Looks like Venomancer might be in a little bit of trouble though. But Scourge just going to bypass him completely. And that will be the end of that. But Scourge actually smoking up to go to the bottom lane to push it up with the Weaver, and Panda with that Blink Ags. It'll be like having level 16 ultimate, and that will be just devastating. And they have to be careful. Shadow Demon caught way out of position. The Fissure won't be enough to save him, as the ultimate is popped. Shadow Demon will be the first one to fall, dies to the Weaver. Meanwhile, a nice stone throw by the Panda, setting up the Clock hook beautifully, as staffing out the Earthshaker manages to catch him away. Venomancer ultimate is dropped a little bit too late because the pipe is negating so much damage, and that will be the Rex and potentially the game by the Scourge team. So, wow, even picking up the speed creep. Wow, it actually has 700 HP when Chen picks it up, so Usually that creep is pretty worthless in Shen's army because it has so little HP, but, you know, with the level 4 Holy Persuasion, it's pretty buff. Powernet. About 1,000 gold, 950 gold away from that Hex, but I might be a little too late because, again, like I said, way as Weaver has been dying, he's getting silenced, he's getting chain stunned by a Shackle Shot, Fissure, Enchant Totem, and then silenced, disrupted, etc., etc. But once he fixes a BKB, what are you supposed to do? Can't do nothing against a 522 MS Ant flying at you, just owning it up with his beady little eyes. Panda still now level 16. Looks like he wants to pick that up pretty desperately. He's gonna kill these troll camps and maybe finish it up. Clock just tanking it up. Dang, that pipe actually was a huge godsend. With pipe and Chen ultimate along with Venomancer not being level 16. I mean, I'm pretty sure he was level 11 at this point. Yes, but not level 16, and so the pipe and the Chen ultimate pretty much negates all of the damage by that Venomancer ultimate. And it's like Scourge trying to get that map position, picking up the Ghost, because Ghost does slow the Roshan, so a little bit of, you know, pseudo Frost Armor slowing the Roshan, and you're just preventing him from doing a lot of DPS. So Panda with the level 16, with the Blink Dagger, with the Aghanims, a lot of HP, just taking it up, initiating like a boss. And Nightstalker still hasn't gotten any new items in the past 5 minutes. Meanwhile, Powernet denies the top tower. He's pretty close to finishing that Hex, so in a perfect world, if they can force-staff the Weaver in, Hex him, own his face, and then force the Sentinel to fight 45, the Sentinel have a chance. But Weaver will probably be staying back, especially with that BKB finish and with the Aegis. And with that Aegis, you'll have to kill him twice over. So I think the next target might have to go for the Shen because he just does a lot of healing with that Mechanism and Hand of God. So you can get that Venomancer ultimate. Or try to kill that Panda. Panda is just too tanky at this point. 2200 HP. Of course that silence will be a huge godsend. But this Vengeful Spirit's actually been pretty clutch in saving her swaps and saving her allies. So the Brazilian boys showing DC Com. Brazilians are pretty good at Dota. And they're going to try to push it in for the win. Power Shot can't do too much to stop this creep wave. As look at this frickin' Ghost. Just owning up all these little creeps being used by Chen. Nice play by Domi. And let's see if he uses Hand of God to heal up his creeps. Nope. As Vengeful Spirit picks up the jungle. Vengeful Spirit is actually pretty tank, and that's never a good sign. Usually in 35 minutes you don't want a Vengeful Spirit to have a Django and a cloak. Rather just have the cloak. And Panda blinks in, drops the Clap ultimate, gonna focus the Shadow Demon, and even if he doesn't kill the Shadow Demon, he isolates the Shadow Demon from the fight, and that just deals with so much damage. Shadow Demon dies with the right clicks of the Weaver, and Earthshaker's being jumped upon. King drops the ultimate, he drops the ultimate, but really only caught one hero, and didn't really even do much damage. He buys back, but without an ultimate, really with only Fissure, and Weaver just going on a rampage along with the Panda. Panda just owning it up. Fire Panda, Earth, Wind, and Fire, just owning it up. It was... They are grooving tonight. As Panda gets a triple kill. Shoutouts to Earth, Wind, and Fire, bring the funk in to the Dota scene. Maybe I'll sing one of those for a special things, because I can actually mimic the Earth, Wind, and Fire soundtrack pretty well. Nightstalker, that was brave, but foolhardy, and looks like Powernet calls it GG. So well done by the Brazilian boys, and I will actually reveal what happened in the series. The Brazilians took game 1 as well. So they eliminate the Americans from the Roccat Gosucup and they make it to the semifinals. I'm not too sure who their opponent was, but maybe they're going to face an Asian team at this point. I'm not too sure. But nice play by UE, showing everybody that Brazilian Dota is legit, making it to the semifinals, proving themselves. I mean, I think Sentinel... Scourge played this game pretty well. Weaver couldn't really handle the Shadow Demon in lane that well. Chen couldn't get that many early ganks, but I think those 2 early towers helped neutralize the offset of the hero kills. I mean, it was 14-5 in favor of the Sentinel, but the Scourge had a tower advantage at one point. And once the Sentinel got that tower advantage back, Weaver already had his Relic, was finishing up the Radiance, and just... I mean, if there was a higher level Nightstalker, if he wasn't dual laning it, if he didn't venture into the jungle once or twice, he would have done more at the first night, maybe gank the Weaver a couple more times. I think pretty much in the mid game, Weaver was left untouched. Literally, all he saw were creeps, and that's how he liked it. Powernet played fabulously, but a little bit outplayed by these Scourge overall, I have to say. I don't think they were necessarily outpicked, but I think outplayed is the smart word in this case. And Panda just proving himself to be a strong hero in all of these games. Chinese teams introduced him, WE, and then Nirvana China. Actually, it was Nirvana China first, then, LGD, eHome, etc., etc. Pick up the Panda, and, to celebrate Mists of Pandaria coming out for WoW. I'm sure Friday Night Saga will love that. And Panda getting some action in this game. Earth, Wind, Fire, taking over the Dota scene one game at a time. Thank you for watching. And what else can I say? Stay tuned for more Roccat Gosucup action, because it's been a pretty good series, and can't cast any Dota 2 because it doesn't work on Mac, but once the full version comes out, it will be compatible with Mac, so I will cast that. But fortunately, there won't be any more Dota 2 tournaments after ESWC. It'll be SMM and WDC, both on Dota 1. I look forward to a lot of casts by me, and thank you all for watching, and have a fantastic day.